This is just a beginner statement about Kabbalah for all beginners and people that are unsure about things but they want to learn. The first thing I'm going to say is that you probably know something about Kabbalah if you've been a spiritual person. And there's a total distinction between religion with spirituality. Because in the spirit you're looking for what is the true sense of reality. Why are things really the way they are? So this is really at the core of Kabbalah. So what I want to tell you is this, because in these times we really need something, because we're coming to the end of the cycle of history. And you can only know that by studying prophecy and looking at the timelines, and it all comes from the Bible or other scripture, what is other religious lineages. But they're all tied together. And Kabbalah is something at the core of this also, because everything ties into the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is older than a lot of other things. But the fact that it was written down and codified by certain times will also give you some idea of the periods that it was going to be given to the people of humanity for our benefit. In the beginning, like going back to the time of Exodus, they didn't have this. You had Egyptian. So in this period, it was a different kind of a thing that people really are not practicing, except for at the core of it, they had something which is similar to the Kabbalah. I'm not saying that every Egyptian in the ancient times were studying that, but they did know. So they had Thoth or Thoth, and they had their understanding of the different names of deity. Everything from there was Hermes. Well, actually, that's not just only Egyptian, but the Egyptians have the Ankh, which is the symbol, and it's just like the symbol for life, and it's connected with the yin yang. And the gods were Osiris, Horus, Isis, Set, I think it is, Ra for the sun god, and Ra I think would be connected with the more modern use of the word ray, like sun rays, Ra. But that's all in linguistics. Kabbalah, seeing as I'm explaining to you how it's ancient, it's at the core of religions when they develop them for each historical period. Kabbalah has been carried along with the Torah and the Judaic faith, or you want to call it the Jewish religion. But I want to emphasize it is not owned just by the people that call themselves Jews or of the Jewish persuasion. It is not owned. And the same thing you could say, it's not owned by the Christians. It's not owned by the people that follow Allah, who their prophet is Muhammad, Muslims. But even though Kabbalah has Allah at the end, it's a Kabbalah. But yet they don't own it. So nobody owns the Kabbalah. You don't have to be a particular religion to study it. And as you know from my playlists, I'm going to remind you, and especially if you're new, I'm going to tell you, if I have to define and categorize myself, the person that's talking to you right now, the spirit in a human body, having a human experience, this one here is belonging to the religion with no name. So, quote unquote, that's the phrase that is more accurate to use, and I also put that as a title on a playlist. It doesn't have all the videos where I talk about it, but it's something to start with. You can watch 24 videos where I make statements and I try to explain it within context of everything else that people are doing in the world with their studies, especially if you're on a spiritual path where you're more flexible and where you're really open to direct knowledge, direct source of spiritual energy, and you're not just learning from the orthodox or from the written word, what they call the exoteric. You're more esoteric when you're on a spiritual path, and so I think you can relate that to the thing that I'm involved with. And really, I think that we're all one, and my purpose is to unify everybody under this. Everybody one, every one. Now, what I'm going to end with on this introductory video is that Kabbalah is said by the ancient teachers, the ancient sages, of which many of us we are reincarnated. This was recorded by them to say, to give us the message that it's okay to study things like the Kabbalah or to study the Zohar, as long as you know that in the beginning you're probably not going to understand it. So accept that in your mind that you're not going to understand it, but keep studying it. It's said that you're going to get a blessing just by the effort of studying, just by the attempt of studying it. And we need to do this more and more now. So just get a copy of the Zohar. I'm going to provide the link below for the English translation, since most of you that view this, and myself also, predominantly are English speakers. We don't understand anything else fluently. This is neither good nor bad. It's just the nature of the time that we're in. Pax Romana is English through the British Empire. And we have an English translation from the original language, which was Hebrew, but it did come into other languages, the older versions of the Zohar and the Torah and the Scripture, Hebrew, Aramaic, ancient Greek, whatever it might have been. We have some pretty good translations, so I'm going to give you the link, and you can start reading it. You're not going to understand most of it. It's written in the symbolic code language. And it takes an expert, an adept, a wise teacher, a rabbi, to really tell you what's in there, because it's on multiple levels what it's saying, and it's taking you to the deeper essence to explain what the truth is about our reality. It's not just like the Torah, the codified essence of rules, with the Orthodox is going to take it as this, this hair is split to this hair, and this is how you have to do this, and day by day, very cut and dry. But they need to understand that the Kabbalah and the Zohar does not say it's this way. They say it's a lot more deeper and a lot more complex, the levels and the dimensions of our reality, what this life really is. So read it without understanding, and sometimes you're going to get a little something, and that's okay. But because it's so deep, don't let it scare you. Don't let it put you off. That's my main message for you today. Go to the study of it. I'm going to try to do it much more myself. Sometimes I feel like I need encouragement, so the way I do it is I do my videos. So it's a reminder to myself, just as well, you just changed the lighting because you're standing over here. This is something that comes from me biologically. I don't know if you can tell biologically that she comes from me. But she will have the study of it because I will insist that she does, and then when she's old enough to do her own thing, she can decide whether she will or not. And I'm noticing in the news, just to give you a comparison, people are being forced in the north of formerly Iraq, the Yazidis, which is a sect of, oops, we screwed up the whole thing. We lost the whole thing, but I have to redo the whole thing.